The question isn't, do you love your children? The real question is, do you love other people's children? It's easy to love what we create, right? We want to preserve our legacy. The truth is, we love our children and we love other people's children less. And that distinction is tearing us apart. We live in the wealthiest country in the world. I drove around Saratoga, all right? We're in Silicon Valley. This is the economic engine of the world. And yet, 1 out of 4 children in America is sad, anxious, and depressed. We're rich. We have it, yet we're not happy. Does that make sense? We are rich, and yet we're not well. That's a problem. And it comes from this mentality that more is never enough. More for you means less for me. That's what we're trained to think of. If that kid gets the scholarship, one less scholarship for me. If that woman gets that job, one less opportunity for me. We have this scarcity mindset. When we're rich, we have so much, and yet whenever we see someone else succeeding, it hurts a little bit because we're comparing ourselves to other people and it makes us feel less worthy. We don't feel like we deserve it. It is time that we redefine prosperity. There's no such thing as wealth without wellness. Generational wealth is generational health. You cannot have one without the other. Wealth and health need to be in balance. That's our work. And the only way to do this is to manifest shared prosperity. We do not need to imagine something new. We just need to remember where we came from. This beautiful woman here is my grandmother, Lydia Rose Mathew, who came into New York Harbor in 1927 from San Juan, Puerto Rico. She had 8 kids, raised them in the South Bronx and Spanish Harlem during the Great Depression. She knows about poverty. She knows about challenge. But you never heard her complain, not a day in her life. And she loves this country. My grandfather was a communist. He got beat up by the cops. But she never complained about this country because it gave her opportunity. She experienced what it's like to go from poverty to prosperity in one generation. And if one person in the family made it, we all made it. That's the way it's done. That is America. That's the dream that I grew up with, and I see it slipping away. So I've spent the last 25 years connecting classrooms to the real world, students to opportunity, and communities to prosperity. I was a teacher in the South Bronx, a teacher in Pasadena, a teacher in East Oakland. I love teaching. But when I saw that that was not moving the needle, I went into entrepreneurial ecosystem building. I started connecting young people to these Silicon Valley companies, and I led a nonprofit here in the Bay Area that connected thousands of high school students to PayPal, Cisco, Salesforce, EY, SAP. But when I saw when these Silicon Valley companies were not hiring locally and that young people who had dreams of entrepreneurship could not get the venture capital funding, I said, we got to go back to the roots. We got to go to small businesses. We got to help communities build where they are. And that's why with my co-founders, Ben Martha and Martha Hernandez, we created ESO Ventures, an entrepreneurial support organization that makes entrepreneurship accessible and worthwhile in every community. We wrote legislation. We started work right here at this community college, and we incubated over 500 business owners. We started deploying capital, debt investment capital, giving money to real business owners so they can make their dreams real. And it's still not enough. Now I'm working on cooperative business models, other ways so that small businesses can compete against monopolies. Because what we need to do in this country, we need more on-ramps, not off-ramps. We're very good at building off-ramps. We need to invest in the on-ramps. And these on-ramps need to be self-sustaining. You can't build it with philanthropy. You need to build it with an economic engine. We need an economic engine for shared prosperity. It all starts with a business. It starts with risk-taking. It starts with that entrepreneurial mindset. You got to put your own sweat equity in. You need to jump first. Most folks don't make it to the other side. The other side is once you've made it, that's when all the investors and that's when the founder, that's when everyone gets rich because they jump first and they took the risk and they take all the reward. If we're going to build an economic engine for shared prosperity, once you hit the top of that S cycle, that's when the sharing happens. Because we cannot build companies where only a small group of people get all the benefits. We need to create a circular economy, one that is regenerative, one that grows with time. And that's the big idea I have to share today. Let's create the first sovereign wealth fund in the United States of America. A sovereign wealth fund is a national savings account. It is an endowment. It is a hedge fund for the people. A sovereign wealth fund is not new. Oil-rich nations like Norway, Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, even the state of Alaska have sovereign wealth funds because they're taking their abundance that they have and they're investing it for the long term because one day that abundance is going to go away and you got to be prepared for when that abundance goes away. China has 3 of them. You know what the United States has? $36 trillion in debt. That's what we're leaving our children. That's the inheritance we're giving our future generations. We can't do that. Here is how it works. First, move $1 trillion of assets into the fund. Where are you going to get $1 trillion? We have land, we have real estate. We can create a token in the U.S. Treasury worth $1 trillion, and that's $1 trillion. We make $27 trillion a year. We have $150 trillion in wealth. Don't tell me we can't create a $1 trillion fund. Do not keep it up at the U.S. Treasury. This wealth needs to get down into community. So we need to create a network of local endowments across all of the underinvested communities in this country because the wealth needs to be distributed. And then we need to empower local communities to steward these resources. We don't need intermediaries. We don't need experts. We need people democratically controlling their own resources and solving their own problems. There are 3 design principles with this sovereign wealth fund. The first, focus on last mile solutions. We do not have a capital access problem in this country. We have a last mile capital access problem in this country. The reason why this big national endowment needs to be broken up into tiny small parts is because it needs to get down into the soil, into the communities that have not had that rain. There is a problem that local communities face accessing private capital. Private markets do not want to go into communities like East Oakland, like Stockton, like lots of communities across this country because it does not make financial sense. This sovereign wealth fund can be the gap in the capital stack between local government and the private markets to make it work. 2, the sovereign wealth fund must be regenerative. It must grow over time. This is not a check that you get and you spend. This is a check that you get and that you invest and you see how it compounds. These are resources that we can invest into local businesses that will circulate in your local economy. that we can invest into the infrastructure that will be used for a generation, that we can invest into the economic resiliency so when that fire comes, when that disaster comes, when that unexpected thing comes, we have the resources to respond. And we don't need to wait for a federal government. We don't need to wait for philanthropy because we've been stewarding the resources all along. And lastly, you need to show and prove your impact. This is not a blank check. This is an opportunity for you to show if you've been given resources that you can steward it, you can measure it, and I guarantee if you show and prove, you will get more resources. If your community has a priority, you need to come together with your neighbors and you need to decide what is that priority and how are we going to spend this money, and then you need to track it. You need financial outcomes and you need social outcomes. And the financial outcomes and the social outcomes need to be in balance. Now, close your eyes with me for a moment. Imagine the community where you came from. Imagine the community you live in now, or the community right next door to you, the one forgotten or left behind. Now imagine if that community had a well. Imagine if it had a collective resource that it could draw upon, that grew with time. Imagine that abundance. Now open your eyes. What if the world we want to create is a world where we loved all children, where we shared prosperity? That is the America that we can build together. Thank you.